They say that after 7 years, all of the cells in our bodies have been regenerated, renewed. But that's not exactly true. However, I am at the start of my 7th year of life here in France, and I feel like a completely new woman. In this video, I'm going to share with you 10 ways that I am different because I've been living in France for the past 6 years. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Patricia Brooks. So in today's video, I am going to do a walk along, so you'll get to see some scenery of my village. So enjoy that. First up, the first ways that I am different are physical. And I, over the last year, have lost about 15 pounds. Now, this was not something I set out to do. I had a bit of an issue with chronic hives that wouldn't seem to go away. So I tried a variety of different kind of diets. And as a result, I lost 15 pounds. And I could tell that I was losing weight because my clothes weren't fitting me well. But a couple of days ago, I was watching a video I shot 2 years ago, and I was like, oh, wow, I can really see how I have lost weight in my face. And I can kind of understand why people are saying, oh, you've lost quite a bit of weight. I didn't realize how noticeable it was. However, that is one way physically that I am different than I was when I first got here to France. Another way that I'm different is my hair is a little bit grayer. Now you might say, gray? I don't see any gray in your hair. Well, this hair is colored with henna. So the henna, the red that you see in my hair are really gray hairs. And over the course of the last 6 years, I have quite a bit more red in my hair as a result. And finally, the third way I'm physically different is that my taste buds have changed. Before I moved to France, I would never have eaten dark chocolate. It was too bitter, not sweet enough. Give me milk chocolate any day of the week. But now, milk chocolate's a little bit too sweet for me. I still like my sweet things, but I can tell that my taste buds are changing in that respect. So those are 3 ways physically that I have changed since I moved to France. But there are 7 other ways that I am different and I feel like a new woman because I made this move to France. And number 4 has to do with the fact that I feel more worldly. That is to say that I feel less United States centric. When I was living in the United States, I had a narrow view of the world. Now I am much more global thinking, but then also I recognize how much of an impact cultural differences can have in life to people who are living in a foreign country. When I first moved here, I was a bit naive. I did not give that the amount of weight that it probably should have had before I made my move. And as a result, there were some things that I was just not ready for. And one of them has to do with the next way that I've grown. And that is that I have let down some of the barriers that I had when I first got here. I've spoken about this in several videos. I like my personal space. Here in France and in Europe in general, the amount of space given to somebody that is personal, right, is much less than in the United States. And so in the grocery store, that was one of the first things that struck me. People were just right on my back. Every time I'd inch up, they'd inch up, and they would just stay like they were glued to me. And that made me feel very uncomfortable. And it did for the longest time. I think probably about 7 or 8 months ago, I had an aha with this. And this is another way that I've grown, is that I have let down this barrier. I would get annoyed when people would be too close to me. I would get annoyed when people would walk directly to me on the street coming from the opposite direction. And that was because I thought that that was something they were doing to be disrespectful. Now, I knew there was a cultural difference, but still there was a sense that, stop disrespecting me. But when that came to light, when I realized that that was the reason it bothered me so, I was able to let go of that and really forgive and go to the grocery store and feel more comfortable in doing that, even if somebody was going to be close to me. After I had this aha, my experience at the grocery store changed and I felt like a new woman. So letting down that barrier, giving that forgiveness, and recognizing that that personal space was not a personal thing that they were doing to me really changed the game. So now going to the grocery store is so much more pleasant. Number 6 is my relationship with time is so much better. When I was in the United States, I always felt like I was racing against time, that there was never enough time for me to get what I needed completed, done. And that creates anxiety. And now, while I'm still very conscious of time, I am very much less anxious about it. And this was something I started doing when I was in the United States. I started saying this affirmation, I have more than enough time to get done what I need to get done. And I would say that, I would repeat that. I remember sharing that with a friend who struggled with the same thing. And when she said it, she's like, yeah, I don't really feel a difference. But it took time for this to really take hold for me. In my second book that I wrote here in my second year in France, there's a chapter called Time is on Your Side. And it's all about that. At the end of the chapter, you can write your own affirmation about that. But when I was in the United States and I was saying that affirmation, it was what I wanted to believe. Now that I'm in France and I have embraced that and seen how time is really working for me, I believe it, right? And so that is a big shift in, oh yeah, I want this to be true, to, oh yeah, I've got enough time. I might be pressed for time, but I'm going to get things done. And so when I do have a lot on my plate, as I do, right now, 2024 started very swiftly and it hasn't slowed yet. I know how to take a deep breath. I know how to prioritize, and I know how to not let the idea of time slipping away or time getting away from me get to me. And that is an amazing place to be. So I think that just in general, being in France has allowed me to relax a little bit more, but around time as well. Another way that I am different is with relationships with people. And this is a little bit related to the time thing, I will get up and I'll go on my morning walk. And if I've got a lot to do, I will sometimes feel like, oh, do I even go on my morning walk? But I do. And on those days when I've got a lot to do, it's inevitable that I'm going to run into at least 2 people who I know, and we're going to chat for a little bit. Just the other day, I ran into somebody I hadn't seen in 6 or 7 months. And so we had a lot to catch up on. With somebody I'd helped with his garden a couple of years ago, and he and his wife had invited me to dinner about a year ago. And so we really needed to catch up, and we did. And it was a cold day, and we spoke for about 20 minutes. And the first couple of minutes of it, I was tempted to kind of say, oh, good seeing you again, and kind of continue on my walk, because I knew I had a lot waiting for me back at the apartment. But I felt that, and I said, no, Patricia, you're here in France so that you can enjoy the people and your friends and relax. And this is a part of the process. And so we spoke, like I said, for about 20 minutes, and it was a good thing that we did, because at the end of that conversation, he said to me, he's like, if you ever need anything, just ring our doorbell. We are here for you. And that meant so much to me, because, being here, a single woman alone, in a foreign country, even after 6 years, it feels nice to feel like you can count on somebody else. And so had I cut the conversation short after 2 minutes, that wouldn't have happened. I wouldn't have gotten that affirmation or that confirmation that, yeah, you are here, you're a part of this community, and people care about you. And that was really a good feeling. The other way that my relationship with people is changing is that I am not an entertainer. I am not having people over for lunch or dinner all the time. In fact, it's not anything I really enjoy doing or enjoyed doing. But 2 weeks ago, I made a big pot of chili and it was good. And I thought, you know what? I want to share this with my friend Baini. So I invited him over for lunch one day and we had a great conversation. So I think that is something else I would like to continue doing in 2024, just having friends over for a meal, because it felt good. It really wasn't that much more effort. I'm cooking for myself anyway, and why not invite people who I care about to share a meal with? So that's another way that I feel like I am different and that I am embracing or being more open to putting myself out there and developing my relationships here. Number 8 is that I have more faith in myself and in the universe to lead me down the right path. I came to France based on intuition. It was something I had to do. It was inexplicable, but I needed to get to France and I listened, and it's been a really good experience. And I think that has helped me to trust in myself, because my intuition is a part of me, but then also that the universe has my back, because when I got here, I was not working. I was living off of savings. I didn't have an idea for a business. And yet here it is, the start of my 7th year, and I am still here. And so while I can't necessarily always know or see where I'm headed, if I have an idea or I want to pursue something, I'm more likely to do it, and without having all of my questions answered or seeing a direct path to where I'd like to end up, because I took a chance on myself in moving to France, and I see that it was something that paid off and that other chances I might take on myself will do the same. And number 9 has to do with something really connected to that, is that I'm open to doing things that I would have once thought was reserved for somebody else. So, for example, I am in the process of wrapping up book number 3, and I will have the draft completed by the end of January, which is just a little more than a week away. But I've made some really good progress this month. I'm a little bit late, but I'm going better late than never. And one of the things, I self-published my first 2 books. And when I was starting writing this 3rd book 3 years ago, I reached out to a French author who was a friend of a friend to see about how to get published in France. And he told me that he is connected with a Canadian publishing house that publishes English and French books, and that he'd love to put me in touch with them once I had my manuscript done. Well, it wasn't done, but it will be done very soon. And so I thought, I haven't spoken to him in years. Should I reach out to him? But I'm going to. It's something I'm going to pursue. Whether or not the publishing company picks me up or not, it is something that before I thought was reserved for somebody else that I'm just going to pursue. And that comes from this experience too, just putting myself out there. This is linked to the relationship piece. When I come back to the United States in February, I'm going to do a meetup in Richmond, Virginia. Now, typically I'm a pretty private person, although I share quite a bit on my videos. I have introvert tendencies, as I've said before. And so to go and to do a meetup feels a little bit outside my comfort zone. And I've seen other people do it, and maybe I might think it's reserved for somebody else, but now I am leaning into this opportunity as well. So those are a couple of the things I mean by doing things that I once thought were reserved for somebody else. And that feels good. That feels like there's a lot of growth in that, in recognizing that if not me, then who, as Marianne Williamson said in one of her videos. And number 10 is something that I've spoken about in other videos. I am so much more confident. And that comes because of all of the experiences I've had here in France. When I work with clients, I often help them build their confidence. And one of the things that we work on is finding a confidence anchor. Now, a confidence anchor is when you look back on your life and to see the things that you did that you didn't believe that you would be able to accomplish. And you look back and you say, well, how was I able to do that? What were the things that I used to achieve that? And so that you can employ them in doing the thing that you're going for now, but then also to recognize that you did things that you didn't think you could do before. So why not this other thing that you're going for now? And so I didn't think that it was possible for me to move to France alone, but I did that. I didn't know that I would be able to survive for more than a year here, but I did, going on year 7. I didn't think that I would be able to buy a car here, or speak fluent French, or write my second book, or start a business here. And these are all things that form a huge confidence anchor for me. So now I am able to lean into doing things that I thought was reserved for other people. But also, when I get an inkling or a hunch or an idea that, oh, I should do this, I will step into that more readily without delay and see where it leads, because I have more faith in myself and the universe, and I am just more confident because of this experience. And so moving abroad, living abroad is a huge program in personal development. And so if that is something you're looking for, I highly recommend it. So those are 10 ways that I have changed over the course of 6 years of life here in France. Which one of those can you resonate the most with? Let me know in the comments. Now, if you are someone who is looking to make a move abroad, I would love to help. If you are struggling to make progress, if uncertainty or fear or self-doubt are getting in the way, let's have a conversation. I have 2 ways to help. I have a group coaching and mentoring program that helps single women move through that fear and self-doubt so they can finally start living in the country they've dreamed of. And I also work one-on-one with clients who don't fit into that program. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, be sure to click the link in the description or go to thecouragecatalyst.com/schedule your call with me today. I so look forward to that. Now, I hope that you've enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up, share it with friends, subscribe, and I will see you again next time. Bye for now.